It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Welcome back to a very special edition of the Slate Night Podcast. We've got a holiday episode for everybody. We're doing a little Christmas movies, top 5 Christmas movies for both Mason and I.
Yep, just kind of what we'd recommend this time of year getting into the season. I am one of those people where I'm very distinct. Thanksgiving happens. Once that holiday ends, then Christmas can happen. I hate it when you're going to like stores and right after Halloween there's just a bunch of fucking Christmas shit already on shelves and Christmas trees and decorations. But now that it is officially that time of year, I am excited to talk about some movies that actually are really special to me. Not necessarily my favorite Christmas movies, but my like go-to rewatches for this time of year.
We wanted to start out, however, with some movies that we don't like.
Yeah.
For
the happy time of year.
Yeah.
Let's start off just ripping into some fucking movies that we don't like.
For me at least, Christmas movies, there's a lot that are very popular, that are on TV all the time, that people love, that I just don't enjoy all that much.
Yeah, you got a couple of hot takes here. One that I think like a lot of people our generation agree with.
Yeah. I'm going to just start out with Polar Express.
I hate this movie.
I don't like the animation in this movie. I don't like the...
Scary.
It's scary. Tom Hanks playing... I don't know. Tom Hanks doing whatever he's doing is just weird.
Bobby Zemeckis needs to settle down. With this...
Bobby Zemeckis.
With Welcome to Marwen. With now here. His filmography, what he's doing, what he's trying to achieve, I don't get it. I really don't like Polar Express, and it was one of my brother's kind of go-to holiday movies, so we always watched it as a family movie night. God, I fucking hated it. I don't like, and like Tom Hanks does the mocap for the child, so he has very adult reactions to things. It's just, and the other children on the train with them, I can't stand. They annoy me. Polar Express has never been one that I'm a fan of. One that I am a fan of, I think is a very charming holiday film, is Elf. Corey disagrees.
Fuck this movie, man. I just like... I think it's because I didn't grow up with this movie, like watching it as a kid. And then I watched it, I think in like high school maybe. And I didn't think it was funny.
That police siren goes nuts.
Yeah, the police siren out there. We're in Minneapolis, so like that's happening every day here, so that's crazy. But Elf is... I don't know. I just don't think it's a funny or enjoyable movie.
I wouldn't disagree with like it not being funny. I don't find the movie funny. I just think it's really charming, and it's quotable. Like the "Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad." I think that's a good line.
I just like Will Ferrell annoys me in this movie, and every quote that I hear from this movie is people just saying the same like 3 or 4 lines from this movie, and I just don't like them, and I don't think they're overused. I don't think they're funny.
I really like James Caan in this. I love James Caan.
James Caan's great in anything.
Yeah, that's always one that Allie and I will be like, let's watch Elf. And she's like, Corey hates this movie. I'm like, I like that you remind me this every time we sit down to watch it. She's like salty about it. I'm like, okay.
It's probably one of the first things I told her, even before you guys met. I was like, I don't like Elf.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I enjoy it. It's not one of my favorites. I know people really love it and that it's like kind of their go-to for this time of year. And I don't know, it's just not, it's never been the one for me. But it's fine. One that I think generationally people our age are sick of is the film Christmas Story.
Yep.
I do not give a shit about Ralphie. I hope he shoots his eye out. I think it was just overplayed for a lot of us, at least growing up. Like TBS would do like the all-day, 24-hour fucking marathon of this movie. And the movie feels grimy to me, and it just makes me feel like upset about the holidays as opposed to like really like enjoying the season.
It's always on like when you're putting your Christmas tree up with your family.
Yeah, so you can just like parcel out like watching aspects or parts of the movie.
But even like aside from it just being overplayed, which is like a very common criticism, I just don't like the story of this movie. I don't like the characters.
No,
I don't care about them.
The family, like I said, the movie doesn't put me in a good mood. The family makes me sad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like what I want to watch to get in the Christmas mood. I don't know. The other one we had on here, which I'm not as big a fan of, is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey one.
Directed by Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. I think Jim Carrey is great in the movie. I think what he can do, like physically, like
with his
making
face,
the like faces of the Grinch is amazing. I don't think the movie's great. The 30-minute animated Grinch movie is the perfect length for that story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need a whatever this is, like 2-hour movie, hour and a half, whatever the fuck it is.
I really like parts of this movie, but I don't love the whole of it. It's just kind of wonky. It feels a lot longer to me than it actually is. I think it's under 2 hours, but I always grew up thinking that this movie was like a 2-hour, 20-minute movie just because the pacing of it's kind of wonky. There are a lot of good, like, quotable moments. Jim Carrey's great as the Grinch, but it's like you said, that 30-minute animated How the Grinch Stole Christmas, that works for me much more than this or the Illumination Grinch movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, which I also just did not care for. But with the dishonorable mentions kind of out of the way, let's move into something that we actually like, movies that we're really into. So into our honorable mentions before we both get to our respective top 5 lists. Honorable mention for me is the 1974 Black Christmas. I love holiday horror films. I love Thanksgiving. I love Black Christmas. I love Krampus. And Black Christmas 1974, which actually the 2006 remake, I think it's 2006, but the early 2000s remake is also not bad. But I love this film. It's got Margot Kidder. It's one of the first slasher films, and it actually holds up really well. I saw it really late growing up. I saw it when I was, I think, in college at that point, and it really worked for me, and it still works as like kind of a ritual rewatch for the holiday season. Corey, have you seen Black Christmas?
I haven't seen any version of Black Christmas, so I might try and watch that this year.
FX would always play the early 2000s remake, and I'm like, damn, this movie's kind of sick. And I heard it was like the inferior version of it. Like, watch this 1974 version, and it's a really great movie. It was just kind of hard to put it into my top 5, and then one that I think you and I agree with is Die Hard.
Of course. This movie, I mean, this is the big debate of, is this a Christmas movie?
I'm so tired of it too.
It's such a like cliche question, but like it takes place during a Christmas party.
Yeah,
it takes place during Christmas. Like,
if you take the concept of Christmas out of it, him traveling to see his family to reconnect with his wife and go to this holiday party, if you take it out of it, the movie doesn't happen. Also, there's holiday themed kills. Like, now I have a machine gun. Ho ho ho. Like that.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. It takes place around Christmas. I get when people are like, it's not a Christmas movie. I'm like, but you have to acknowledge it takes place during it. There's a lot of like odes to like this time of year. So I think overall it works as a Christmas movie. It's not necessarily what I'm going to rush to for a rewatch to get me in the Christmas spirit, but I do acknowledge and really love the first Die Hard.
It's one of the best, not just best Christmas movies, one of the best action movies ever made. Yeah. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber is amazing. Love it.
Hans Gruber.
I almost said Hans. But Die Hard's great.
Another underseen film. It's actually my favorite animated Christmas movie is Arthur Christmas from 2011. Has James McAvoy in it. It does Christmas, I think, and the rollout of Christmas and Santa having to handle the rollout and getting the gifts to all the kids. I think that what they do with the mythology is really cool, and I think the animation's really sweet. It's a really short movie, and moves pretty quick, so it's a good family watch. And it does some of my favorite stuff with like Christmas lore. So, moving on from our honorable mentions. Corey, do you want to start with your number 5? We'll kind of teeter-totter back and forth on our 5th pick, 4th, back and forth, 3, 2, down to 1.
Yeah. So starting at number 5, with my list, I had 2 that I like are my definitive Christmas movies, and then I try to get a few in there that are like more modern movies that I think are really good Christmas ones. So I'm starting off at number 5 with Violent Night, which is directed by Tommy Wirkola. It stars David Harbour as Santa, which already is just a perfect casting. Yeah, love it. This movie is so much fun. It's a great action Christmas movie, and John Leguizamo is just a slimy villain in this movie, which is really fun. And David Harbour is just incredible as Santa. I love watching him. I remember we saw this in theaters, and we just had a great time with it.
I don't know what it is about John Leguizamo, but I feel like I wouldn't be safe alone in a room with him.
No.
He just scares me. Not even like in this movie, which he's good in this movie, and he's good in a lot of things that he's in, but the man just terrifies me lately. I love Violent Night. The director of Dead Snow 1 and Dead Snow 2, Red or Dead. Never saw Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Oh, I saw that, man. I saw that on Redbox, I think.
Yeah. That is a very Redbox movie.
Yeah.
But Dead Snow is great, and then going into Violent Night, it was a great kind of, hey, kind of taking the story of Die Hard, but instead of it being John McClane, let's make it Santa, and he's a badass, and he's like this Nordic Viking almost. So I'm like, yeah, it was really sweet. I like what the film does with Santa Claus in that movie. For me, my number 5 pick, what I'd recommend for this time of year is The Holdovers from 2023, which is just an awesome, heartwarming movie, which I know those reports came out when this film first came out, and director Alexander Payne was like, it's not supposed to be a feel-good movie, and it's like, you made a movie that makes people happy. Just shut the hell up.
Yeah,
like,
what are you talking about?
Like, why are you grading against people that are supporting you? Like,
Yeah.
But Alexander Payne, director of Sideways, Nebraska, The Descendants, stars Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa. I love this movie. It's a kind of the perfect, like, found family. Just these leftover people that kind of are like, well, we have to get through the holidays together. How are we going to do this? Are we going to hate it, or are we just going to make the best of it and just have a great time? And I always think that this is such a sweet film, and kind of underseen, at least in my circle. Like, I know a lot of my relatives haven't seen it, so I'm going to try and force this one onto people, I think, this year.
Yeah, as you should. This movie's great. Yeah, Divine Joy Randolph won supporting actress for this movie at the Oscars last year.
Paul Giamatti was up for the nomination, and it was between him and Killian, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, I get either of them winning. Like, both of them made sense. So, it was,
Yeah,
everyone
it's
is great in the movie.
Very heartwarming movie, very like cozy movie.
Yeah.
Of just like, even beyond Christmas, just like starting at Thanksgiving, I feel like even
Yeah.
too, you can toss this movie on and it's like a really good, just holiday comfort movie to watch.
That
so.
and it's so committed to the time era, or like the time period it takes place in. I remember we're like going through some streaming sites, me and Allie, and she saw like the trailer start playing, like how Netflix or Amazon will do that, and she was like, was this movie like made in the 80s? Like, this movie looks old. And I'm like, no, it was made last year, but it's just so good at establishing the time period it takes place in. So yeah, Holdovers, big recommendation for me. If you haven't seen it, I think it's definitely worth a watch, and it might become one of your new favorite Christmas movies.
For sure. For me at number 4, which I know you have a little higher up on your list,
Spoiler alert.
is Krampus. Came out in 2015. Directed by Michael Dougherty, who did Trick or Treat, and everyone's favorite, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I watched half of that movie.
Yeah, so we'll just ignore that one. But movie has Adam Scott, Toni Collette, David Koechner, who you know as what the fuck's his name from The Office?
Packer.
Todd Packer.
Todd Packer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, shit, what is his name?
Yeah, just iconic role in The Office. Just an interesting cast, but really fun. This is a great horror movie. As I kind of talked about, Violent Night is a good action Christmas movie. Krampus is a great horror Christmas movie. It's basically just about this boy that summons a demon during Christmas, and shenanigans ensue, I guess.
Shenanigans ensue. It's
know.
a really dark movie.
It is.
And
like,
I appreciate it.
I love the ending of this movie as
Oh,
well. Like,
yeah.
it's really cool. And this is a movie I remember, like, when the trailers were coming out, I was like, I don't know, like, it just looks like another like dumb horror movie.
There's like an aspect to the film Red One that I didn't like that steals from Krampus, and I was like, don't fucking touch this. Don't you dare try and sully its name. I love Krampus. It is one of my favorite Christmas movies. While it isn't my favorite necessarily, it is the one I am the most excited to go back and rewatch this time of year. Allie hasn't seen it, so that's also the one she's the most excited to watch this year, because I love holiday horror films. Like I said, Krampus is one of my favorite holiday horror films. Yeah, it's such an enjoyable watch. I think it's a little underrated. No one really talks about it. Yeah, Krampus is great. I will be talking about it a little bit later on, just because it's also in my list. But my number 4 pick for Christmas recommendation would be National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from 1989, a absolute classic. Directed by Jeremiah S. Cheshik. I have no idea who the fuck that is.
Attaboy.
I looked into his filmography, and he had one other like film, and I think he directed The Avengers, like the Sean Connery movie from like the 90s. That was like a piece of shit. So I don't know. But it's written by John Hughes, and you get that through and through. It stars Chevy Chase, very, very attractive Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Shitter's full. It's so quotable, and it's easily, I think, the funniest Christmas movie. I watched this religiously with my family growing up. It'd be like kind of a family movie night mainstay. Even when it wasn't necessarily the Christmas season, we'd just throw it on because it's so damn funny. Corey, what do you think about Christmas Vacation?
This one, like, this would probably be on my list too. I just kind of wanted to like throw some different ones on there, but like this one I watch every year. It's so funny, and it's such an easy one to watch too. Yeah, fucking Randy Quaid in this movie is hilarious.
I think that this film handles the like aspect of Christmas that doesn't always get talked about, where it's you get your relatives and you kind of have to handle all the different personalities in one roof under one roof or in a fucking RV in the driveway.
Even just like the like subtle things of like when a relative brings over a pet for a holiday, or like even just to like hang out, like when your friend is like, "Can I bring my dog over?" And you're like, "I don't. It's gonna cause problems." Yeah. And it's just like
it's another thing we have to worry about.
Yeah, and you get that with a few different animals in this movie. The fucking cat just getting fried in the tree.
The dog barfing underneath the table. Oh, he's got a bone. Oh, he's got it up. Yeah, I think the movie is hilarious. I had just a huge crush on Beverly D'Angelo watching this, and I still do every time I rewatch it. I think she is a smoke show. Chevy Chase is also insane in this movie. He's so funny.
In his prime.
Yeah, and infinitely quotable. Shitter's full. She wrapped her damn cat is just a line I say all the time when it applies to nothing. It replays in my mind because it's just so funny to me. But yeah, Christmas Vacation, can't go wrong with it.
So good. Okay, my number 3 is kind of the last part of this modern trilogy I was talking about. It's The Night Before, which is directed by Jonathan Levine, who did 50-50, which is a great movie.
One of my favorites, honestly.
Such an underrated... I feel like nobody talks about that movie.
That movie's devastating, and also very funny.
Yeah, the movie's great. But yeah, it's got Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Anthony Mackie, and it's essentially just them trying to find a fun Christmas party to go to, and it's a comedy, and then Michael Shannon shows up as their drug dealer who's like just trying to hang out with him a little bit. Mr. Green, I think is his name.
Mr. Green, yep.
And this movie's hilarious. Like, the scene where he goes into the church
and he's tripping balls.
It's so funny. Like,
he's like, we didn't do that to him. We didn't do that to him. My people, because Seth Rogen's Jewish, and he's looking at the Christ up on the cross, and he's like, we did not do that. That's not us.
It's so funny. And another one where I'm like, I don't feel like people talk about this one enough.
And it's such a good film about like just friendship and how it changes throughout the years, because it's about these 3 guys that have been friends for so long. They've grown up with each other. They know like they're close with each other's families. It's just a really like sweet movie and very funny. It's a good bro movie.
It is.
But also like I think anyone can watch it and have a good time. Michael Shannon is just awesome as a drug dealer that just keeps popping. He's like, oh hey guys, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we want weed. Like give us drugs. And he's like, yeah, but what are you guys like doing after this? And it's like, okay.
Shit, you're overstaying your welcome here.
But check out Night Before. After checking out Night Before, please do yourself the favor and check out Jingle All the Way from 1996. One of my absolute favorite movies of all time, which I feel like I say that a lot, but this movie, I think I burned out my VHS watching this movie. It is directed by Brian Levant, who is just director of some heavy hitters with the Flintstones live action adaptation, and Are We There Yet with Ice Cube. I almost said Ice-T. That'd be different, but Ice Cube. Stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rita Wilson, Sinbad, and Phil Hartman. I love this movie, and I would rewatch this movie so much as a kid. My TV in my room had a VCR built into it. Never figured out how to work the rewind function, but I would watch the movie from beginning to end. Film would wrap up. I yelled downstairs to my mom to have her come back up, rewind the movie all the way to the beginning, and then I'd watch it through again. I would do that like 2 to 3 times a day with this movie. I love it. It's paced so well. It's so short. Turbo Man is the most awesome action figure that I could never get. I've always will just randomly Google like Turbo Man toy. I love the Turbo Man. I don't know. It's a movie that makes me like misty-eyed and almost cry, even though there's not really a sad moment. It's just I get so excited watching this movie, and I don't know. I think it's a really good movie about just a man just trying to give his family the best Christmas he can possibly do and get his kid the toy that he desperately wants.
For sure. This and also a little Minnesota connection. It was filmed in Minnesota. A lot of spots in St. Paul. Mickey's Diner. They filmed there. So
also Sinbad is an amazing villain for a family movie. He says some of the most relatable shit of all time throughout the entire movie, and it's just like I'm not rooting against you, dude. I'm rooting for you. It's just I want Arnold to get the toy for his kid. So yeah, I love Jingle All the Way. If you don't love it, try rewatching it again. I love this film.
It's a classic. Okay, going into my number 2. Again, another one that you have on your list. I guess kind of spoiler alert, but we can just talk about it now. It's a Wonderful Life, which I think is the best Christmas movie. However, it's not the one that I watch the most. You'll find that out in a second. But It's a Wonderful Life is just simply one of the best movies ever made. This movie makes me tear up every time I watch it. It's such a I don't know, such a moving movie about family, about just Jimmy Stewart in the movie gives such a great performance. Yeah. Donna Reed also great in the movie. Lionel Barrymore, and it comes from Frank Capra, who just was pumping out Hollywood classics. Like, It Happened One Night, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which I remember watching in high school and just being like, this movie's so good.
And then you'd hear other kids in the class like, this movie's fucking boring. It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Just because it's black and white doesn't mean it's bad.
I think the movie is so quotable. It has like one of the most endearing moments to me, like when it's Jimmy Stewart and I think Donna Reed, and he's like, say whatever, like, what do you want? What can I get you? You want the moon? Well, say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and I'll pull it down. I'm like, that is the sweetest thing. That is so smooth. Like, damn. There are just moments in this movie, and it's just about being a better person. Spoiler alert, this is my favorite Christmas movie, and I'll talk more about it when I aptly name it as my number 1 in a couple minutes. But yeah, it's almost a perfect movie to me.
It's just appreciating what you have and really just I don't know. Yeah, it's just a heartwarming movie, perfect for the holiday season.
Yeah, and I think anyone could watch it and get something from it. And it might be hard for younger people just because it is a black and white movie from 1940s, like 1946. So I don't know, but it's definitely a good emotional reset, I think, for a film.
For sure.
My number 2 is Krampus from 2015, which we already touched base on. This is my favorite holiday horror film. I think it's so enjoyable. I like Trick or Treat a lot. I love kind of the dark side of when you have all your relatives in one house and it follows the main kid who's just like, I wish I didn't have my family here. I wish I didn't have to go through this. And it's just Krampus picks up on that. He's like, I'm gonna put you through it, dude. Like, I don't
word.
Yeah, word. I don't know if you know what you just invited into your house, but I'm gonna torture your family right now. And I like I like the little gingerbread like soldiers that they got going, and I love the design of Krampus. There's so many good shots in this film where you just see him on the roof, and you're like, oh, that dude is gonna fuck shit up. Like, he is so terrifying. I love Krampus. It is. Like I said, it is the movie that I get most excited for this time of year, although it is not my favorite Christmas movie. It's the one I'm like, yes, I get to watch this, and it's like the perfect time for it.
It's great, yeah. Not a ton of like good Christmas horror movies, so
no.
Yeah. Obviously, I really like that one too. Okay, number 1. The movie I get most excited to watch every Christmas season is Home Alone, directed by Chris Columbus, who... like, he was just on a tear. Like, with Home Alone 1 and 2, and then the first 2 Harry Potters, like, he just understood...
how to make a childhood, like, a film for children.
Yeah. It's so, like, this movie, like, it's so heartwarming, it's funny, it's enjoyable, it's paced incredibly well.
Yeah.
There's so many memorable characters in this movie. Macaulay Culkin is great, and, like, it's a movie that we don't see as much anymore, or we don't see done like as well to this extent, really. And then you have Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as the fucking leaky bandits, or what are they in this movie? They're
the wet bandits.
The wet bandits, and then the next movie there's something else, the sticky bandits or
something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. They're so funny, and like it's just I don't know. The ending always gets me too. One thing I'll say is that towards the end of the movie, when they have Macaulay Culkin like hung up on the door, and then Joe Pesci's like, I'm gonna bite all of his fingers off, and then the guy with the shovel comes in and hits him. Like, what if he didn't come in? Like, was Joe Pesci just gonna bite his fingers off?
I hope so.
Like,
Joe Pesci's unhinged in this movie. Yeah, he's just his little talking to himself is just a little bickering, and him and his chemistry with Daniel Stern is fantastic. I think Daniel Stern's so underrated. He's such a joy in this movie. He's so funny, and I think slapstick comedy doesn't typically work for me. You watch like an Adam Sandler movie or like Grown Ups, I'm like, it's not like this isn't it. But you watch Home Alone, it kills it. It's so funny. And like the Wet Bandits, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern should die. Like, not like that they're bad people. They should be dead with what Macaulay Culkin does to them. Like, how they survive makes no sense to me, which I'm not mad about. It's insane what Kevin McAllister is able to, like, just kind of put together and, like, you know what, I'm gonna torture you guys back. Home Alone, it's a great movie. It's never a must watch for me, but I do try and watch it like once every couple of years, and it's a film that when it's on TV, I typically have to sit down and watch. It is really well paced. It is really sweet and heartwarming. Again, of a character wishing his family away, or like, I wish what is it that...
I wish my family disappeared.
Yeah, it's just, and obviously you get that arc of him realizing just how important family is. It's a really heartwarming film. It's a great Christmas movie. Moving to my number one, which you already have talked about, It's a Wonderful Life from 1946. I think this movie, this and one other film in my life have just been the most emotional reset. Like, I watched this, It's a Wonderful Life, and the Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Fred Rogers documentary. I'll watch those both once a year as just a way to reset me and just make me like, all right, I need to be nicer to people. Try and remind myself to be a good person. Basically, I think It's a Wonderful Life is such an emotionally, like, relatable film. It's moving. I love Jimmy Stewart in this film. I saw this movie really young, and I didn't really appreciate it, but my mom always really loved it. So I was like, all right, Mom, I'll watch this movie with you, like, whatever. When it'd come time to watch Christmas movies, like, okay, yeah, we can sit down and watch It's a Wonderful Life. And it's just a movie I've just grown to love. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 100. I absolutely adore this movie. It is, I think, it handles the Christmas season, I think, the best, and what, like, this time of year should mean to people. There's no negatives for this movie for me.
No, it's like I said before, it's one of my favorite movies of all time as well. Definitely. Like I said, I think it is the best Christmas movie. It's just not the one that I like rewatch the most. I like Home Alone. I'm just like, I want to rewatch this while I'm doing Christmas stuff.
And it was kind of nice putting together, because there's overlap between our 5 recommendations from Corey and I, but it was nice, like, all right, you're going to cover Home Alone, all right, I got The Holdovers, like, I got Jingle All the Way, but you have The Night Before and Violent Night.
Right.
So, like, I think we had a really good balanced kind of 10 picks, well,
I feel
not
like
necessarily 10, but
we've hit, even with our dishonorable mentions, we hit a lot of the main Christmas movies. I don't think we really missed anything.
There's like Christmas Carol and like the Scrooged. Like Scrooged. I don't love. It's kind of too much of a downer for me. I love the story of A Christmas Carol and the iterations that I've seen. So it's just never like the go-to.
Yeah.
Even though that is kind of like the classic.
The like claymation, stop motion short films like Santa Claus is Coming to Town and Rudolph and all those ones. Like, those are great. I love those. The Rankin and Bass ones, they're perfect, just like short little, whatever they're, like 30, 40 minute shorts of just like getting you in the holiday spirit, putting up your Christmas tree. They're very sweet too, so definitely want to give those a shout.
Those were always a mainstay in my house, only for when we're putting the tree up, just because, like, as kids we weren't like the most into them, but because we were always like, well, they're really old, they don't look great, but they're really charming, and we always had them on when we'd be putting the tree up. But yeah, so if you have time this holiday season, I'm sure that there's the movies that you must get through during this Christmas period. And I know there's a lot of people that love the Hallmark movies. I appreciate those as a son to a single mom who always had to have Hallmark Christmas movies playing on the TV in the house during this time of year.
Frosty, get that playing.
Yeah. But yeah, watch what you want to watch. If you haven't seen some of these films that we've mentioned here, like The Holdovers or The Night Before, or if you haven't seen Krampus, do yourself a favor. Obviously, hit the classics. Watch what you want to watch. Have a great time of the year, as this is a time to kind of reconnect and settle down and just have a good time with your family. But thanks for joining us here on the Slate Night Film Fan Podcast. From Corey and I, I'd like to think that that's a wrap.